Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of premium quality guitar, bag, and camera straps, handmade in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Check out their website to order your own custom creation and play in style. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it. Okay, this next package is from Dan Berthelo. Looks like he's packed it in filters. Okay, now this, he contacted me about this and asked me if I wanted it. Memory serves, I think he said he got it at an estate sale, but it is this is like a little intercom or something, I believe is what this is supposed to be, and it has a tube amp inside of it. The tube amp is a little series filament. Let's see, this will be T for talk. Let's see, talk left and right, maybe? Don't know. Amplicall. It's going to be a series filament amp. It's got a 35W4, a 6C4, and a 12AU6. That's not nearly enough to eat up the 120, so where is the rest of it going? Do they actually have a resistor that large in here? Because the 35W, that's a rectifier. I see. This is just going to be basically a preamp. Or, you know, I mean, it's going to have an output, but it's not going to be a very powerful output. It's just going to be a 6C4. That single triode right there is probably also doubling as an output, you know, so it probably is hooked to the speaker on the front of this thing through a small transformer. So this is just a very, very low output, probably, you know, 1 watt or less. Amplifier. Okay, so there's no tubes. Did he pack tubes separately? Maybe he did. Yes, he did. He did pack tubes separately. Looks like we have 3 tubes here and a CD. Okay, he's left a letter here. It says, "Greetings, Brad," and closes the intercom remote station. I was wondering if it's a hot chassis. There are 2 transformers, but I didn't spend that much time studying it. Sure looks rock and roll at any rate. Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, if you guys will recall, Dan is the fellow who sent me that rare LP of the band Lightning. And this is a band that's from up around his neck of the woods. And this turned out to be a really, really good listen. And he sent me copies of some of their stuff on CD as well. So that's cool. Thanks for that, Dan. Yeah, but let's check this thing out. Yes, you are correct. There are 2 transformers. Why would there be 2 transformers piggybacking off of the speaker, though? That's kind of... probably because we have more than one mode of reproduction. I'm guessing. I don't know. But you see the there's not much to the chassis. All the stuff is underneath. Disc capacitor, so I bet this thing would work right now. Well, there's one capacitor over here. That's probably the across the line capacitor. Or maybe like the isolation capacitor right there. That would be suspect. But for these disc capacitors though, those I bet would still be good, and who knows about that? That might need to all be replaced as well. But yeah, interesting, man. Yeah, there it is. There's the big resistor. So that resistor right there is what will take up the remainder of the 120 volts AC after it's gone through the 35 volt, the 12 volt, and the 6 volt tube filaments. As for these transformers right here, they do look like output transformers, but it looks to me like, yeah, see that the actual speaker, the speaker is being hooked to this switch. So the switch is switching between different outputs. So that's weird. Maybe we've got different inputs right here that go to different, probably like, you know, you've got an input that goes to like 1/2 of the, or it goes to like the 12AU, and we've got another one that goes to 6C4 or something like that. Who knows? But one of these might be another separate output or something like that. We'll have to study this further as well, but it looks to me like that's definitely the case. These are both output transformers, and there is no power transformer. It's a series filament amplifier. But this will be a neat one that we can get into and maybe make something out of. See if we can make this thing scream for guitar one of these days. That'll be pretty cool. And let's see if we can't get a signal into this, because it does look complete. I've got the tubes in it, and it looks complete and clean enough that it might actually work for us. So I'm just curious. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to pull the chassis out, because I want to get a little better look at it. Because all I see as far as like any kind of indicators of what might be an input or what might be an output is, well, this has a G written above it in pencil. And then there's like a B right here on this, above this one. So I guess that's ground, maybe. And then blue, B for blue wire. Or maybe it's green or ground, whatever. And then over here there's a G and an R. Right here there's a B letter. Right here there's an A. And right here there's an A. So I'm thinking maybe, I don't know. Because if this, let's see, 2, 4... I'm really not sure what would be going on here. Like I said, my theory is there might be more than one input on this thing, because it's okay. Well, I looked this up also online, and Amplicall. Okay, the Amplicall name is a name. This was made by Rauland-Borg in Chicago. So that's the manufacturer. Amplicall is just their trademark or whatever for this particular series of device. But what I think this is this is like a hands-free telephone system. So it's like a speakerphone. You would have this over on your desk, and when a call comes through, you can choose to put them on speakerphone, and it would come onto this. And if you want to talk, I don't know if you would have a separate microphone, or whether the speaker maybe picks up enough of a signal. Probably it's that. The speaker probably picks up enough of a signal, or maybe one of these is an input for a microphone, and the input for the microphone, you'd have a microphone out on your desk also, and when you hit this downward, it's the T for talk. So if you hit this, it's, I guess, cutting the output so it doesn't, feed back or whatever, maybe. And then it's, engaging the microphone so that you can speak through the microphone and they can hear you. So I'm thinking that might be what this is. T and then L for maybe listen. As far as the R, I have no idea, because like I said, there's a T and L and an R. What would the R be for? Maybe record? Maybe that is... Oh, so maybe you can record phone calls. That might be what that's for. So, okay, so what might happen here is you can use this to talk, listen. See, it just springs like this. Talk, listen. So you can sit here normally and, hey, Jim, send over the documents ASAP, kind of thing. And then Jim says, yeah, I'll have my secretary shuffle right over, Yeah, your secretary is pretty hot, Jim. Send her. Yeah, I know. That's why I hired her. I mean, this is how maybe this would work. But then you would have this R, like if you had an important call or something you wanted to remember later, you would have like maybe I don't know, a recorder on your desk or something. You would flip this to record, and it would send the signal through and out to a recorder. Maybe, I don't know. You see what I'm getting at here. I'm trying to figure out what is what in terms of how this works, but I have zero experience with anything like this particular device. The only other Amplicall products by Rauland-Borg that I saw when I Googled it, I saw this. Okay, so apparently they made these things also, and it's like, it's a same sort of thing, I believe, but the telephone can be, integrated into the device. And I guess these are famous because Perry Mason used one or something like that. Let's see, where is it? Got one on his desk right there. So I think that's, kind of their claim to fame, but I don't see... These are all obviously earlier models, And I don't see anything like what we have here. So interesting, and I guess apparently rare, little piece of kit here. And yeah, I'm gonna have to let's take the electronics out of it and see if we can't get a signal put into this thing. Okay, get out of there. Yeah, see, they're way down in there. Not gonna be fun to put back in, but we're not worried about that yet. We'll worry about that bridge when we come to it. Let's see. All right, this front panel is just being held on by the knobs and by the fact that there's a lip on the front of the metal chassis. But yeah, I'm curious. Let's see, 465, I believe is Oxford. Is that Oxford? 813. So I'm guessing this is 19, probably 58, probably 58. Just judging by the style of the cabinet. This, yeah, and the Bakelite knobs. Yeah, this has got to be 58. Actually, that Bakelite knob right there. These were used on some guitars of the late 50s and early 60s. So you would have these on, like, I think Kay made some models like this, and maybe Epiphone. Can't remember for sure. 232, 822. So I would say definitely this is, yeah, this has got to be 58. But yeah, very simple. Look at this. There's nothing to it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 capacitors. Besides the electrolytics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 resistors. 7 resistors, the big one down there. That's the big power resistor. So yeah, just nothing to this. So it should be pretty easy to trace out. First I want to see if it is a hot chassis. You can see here the power cable coming in. And the power cable's in good shape, and we'll probably just use this for our testing purposes. Like I said, I think this is probably like the across the line or death capacitor, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is the rectifier. Comes in straight to the rectifier. Comes off of there. Where does that white wire go? To the switch. Okay, so one side goes to the switch. Alright, other side of the switch goes directly to the first capacitor right there. And also off of that, it goes through this capacitor to ground. Now this capacitor, if this is shorted, the whole device will be shorted. You know what? I kind of think I want to just fire this thing up. Let's see. The like I said, the 12AU6, that is a pentode. So that's just a single gain stage. We want to find the grid of the 12AU6. I was right, sharp cutoff pentode. Okay, so pin 1, and then pin 5 is the plate. I got pin 1, that's the grid. But it looks like we got a couple of wires coming in here. One of them is going to this 10K capacitor, and then it's going to pin 1 through this capacitor. So that green wire from that pair, it's going to this transformer on the other side of this transformer. So the transformer will be stepping up or down some voltage before it goes into this tube. But where's it coming from before that? Before that, it's coming over here to this switch. Alright, now into this switch we have some wires here. This orange and green one are coming over to this switch, but so are this brown and yellow one. A couple of these are tied together. So these two and these two are parallel. So yeah, these two pairs, like this pair and then this pair, you can put an input signal into this. I will probably into it, I would imagine. The phone is one device you would have to come in. Another signal you might want to parallel on input A would be the intercom signal from your sexy, buxom Christina Hendricks lookalike secretary. And it seems like channel B is probably for Muzak, like for hold music. I think we may as well just try to hook something up to this. I think that's what I want to do. And we'll just kind of see what it's all about. We'll see if it even comes on and see if we can get a signal into it. So rather than dialing it up on the Variac, which is usually what we do with such items, let's just hit the power switch. Oh, we're getting sound. Hey, we're getting sound. I think there might be some bad connectors over here on this thing. On the switch. I would say the talk feature, like when you go to talk mode, that almost has to be converting this speaker into a microphone diaphragm, so that, you know, a signal can be sent back. And that probably explains the two transformers, I would imagine. Let's do this. All right, so let's back this screw out just a little bit. We'll back this screw out just a little bit, so we can get a good bite on it with some gator clips. All right, so I've got a couple of gator clips here. We're gonna hook one gator clip up to this screw, and then this one up to this screw. All right, now the ground will go to sleeve of this cable. There's a guitar on the other end, and then the tip to there. So right now we have a guitar plugged into this device. Yeah, it's turned all the way up. Noisy as hell. Jeez. I'm wondering if this other one over here is going to be more or less gain. So that's exactly what that is. That's the other input. Probably if I was plugged into this one, the signal would come back out of this and I could go into something else. So like I could talk into the speaker, and well, let's test that theory. Alright, so I have this plugged onto under this, and I can plug this one into my little test amp back here, the other end of it. Yep. See there? Roger, Roger. What's your vector, Victor? You've got clearance, Clarence. Hang on. Here we go. Yeah, see, that's exactly what it is. This is it's an intercom, but it could also be used as a desktop speakerphone. Whoa! Checking one. Check one. Niner. Zulu. You're cleared for takeoff. Very interesting. Very cool. Just cool looking. If nothing else, definitely a cool looking little relic of the late 1950s. Again, I'm guessing 1950s. Yeah, definitely cool little relic. It just seems like a really cool device. And there may actually come a point down the road where we convert this into some kind of little, you know, guitar amp or preamp or something, some kind of little device. Okay, so while I was not able to find a schematic for the exact model that I have, I did find a schematic for an Amplicall 2105 master station. There are a couple pictures here, and I guess they had the master station, which is this one, and then they had the substations, which are these little guys. So you could have, it looks like up to maybe 5 of these guys, and then this would be the master station. So this one was able to communicate with all 5, while this one was kind of more of a dummy. The master station would have had an extra switch right here, which would have been a station selector switch. You'll see here also the 3 positions on this toggle were labeled talk, listen, and call, while the 3 positions on the master model over here were labeled talk, listen, and reset. I'm still not 100% sure what call and reset mean, but it looks like it's probably a way for you to like put an input signal, like a radio signal or something like that, and feed it out to all of the all the other stations so that they can listen to radio through their stations when not in use. Anyway, I did download the schematic, and here's what we see. This is again, this is the master station, so we're going to have this extra switching here, which communicates with these other stations. We're not really concerned with those because the model we have is not this exact model. But let's see. But most of the rest of this over here will be similar, if not exactly the same. We have the speaker, which also doubles as the microphone diaphragm. So just depending on how you look at it, it could be the output or the input, depending on how the switch is set. When it's in listen mode, of course, this will be the speaker, and when it's in talk mode, it'll be the microphone diaphragm. So the signal comes in here to this transformer, and basically what this is doing, it's taking the impedance and it's actually transforming the impedance so that it can be put back through as a signal. So that's what this transformer is doing, and if we were to convert this to a little guitar amp or something like that, we wouldn't need this at all. But anyway, this the signal comes in, goes to the grid of a 12AU6. You can see here there's a 200 picofarad capacitor across the other side here, which is a little bit different because I think in ours there's a capacitor in series, but you know, this is not exact once again. And this also has a 50B5 in addition to the 12AU6, and in our example it's a 6C4 tube in this position. This one makes a lot more sense because it's a, you know, it's gonna soak up a lot more of that extra voltage, so you don't have to have as big of a, you know, wasteful resistor and you can put you know, a lot more of that signal to work for you, you know, through the speaker. It would probably, this model probably would have been a little bit louder than the one that we have, I'm guessing. But yeah, that, you know, that's essentially what the thing looks like on the inside, sans, you know, all of this stuff over here. Pretty ingenious how these things are kind of set up, you know, so that they can match the impedance back into the input and everything. Apparently the Amplicall name was also used on products that were manufactured by Webster Chicago. So Rauland-Borg was not the only company that manufactured these. It is interesting to note that this one is dated 1948. Look at the form factor on this, just a completely different style.